Go on, what are you going to tell me about some grease?
Absolutely. Well, you've been to Morris Lubricants in Shrewsbury.
Yes, I have.
You've seen how we make the oils.
Loads of times, yeah.
And this is the off-highway sector we're talking about today, and we're going to talk about grease, as you've quite rightly said.
Love it, mate. Love it.
Yeah, so you've got a bit of grease, haven't you, in your life?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so this is one of those. This is one of these market sectors where grease has quite a tough job to do because of the exposed environments it's in, and again about the pressures, the weights, the temperatures. So there's a whole range of kind of greases which kind of lend themselves to this environment, this working environment.
Right.
And they have kind of common features like they're good for water washout. They won't get washed out by water because obviously these can be very exposed environments that you're working in. And also there's a lot of sliding applications in this market. So in normal roller bearings, for example, where you're greasing a roller bearing, then you've got a rolling element, and that's basically that's a different kind of dynamic to something which is sliding. Okay.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
a good example is where we are today here. So that's pivoting on there. Okay. There's no rolling going on in there. So that'd be a plain bush in there basically. So you want a lubricant property which will resist not only those kind of high pressures, but also the sliding movement as well. So under most applications, greases under high pressures and sliding applications will just squish out, for want of a better term. A nice technical term there, by the way. Okay, so that will squish out. But what you want left behind is a solid lubricant, and things like molybdenum disulfide, or moly for short, as people know,
yeah.
or graphite.
Yes.
These tend to get employed in those kinds of greases because, as I say, when the grease gets pushed out the way, you've got then a solid lubricant taking over from that.
To stop metal-to-metal contact?
Absolutely.
Okay, right, okay.
So
you're saying the grease that we would use in this environment would be fairly different to the grease that we use in tractors and trucks, that sort of?
Yeah, I mean, they're shared applications, but sometimes the application in the truck market, some of the features of that grease may not be fully utilised, where they may be utilised fully in this particular market.
Okay, right.
So say, for example, there's a blue grease we do, which is a calcium-lithium combination grease. So lithium's good at high temperatures, calcium's good with water washout. Ideal for heavily loaded trailer bearings in the commercial vehicle market.
So would I say that would the blue grease be the top end grease?
Yeah, it's one of those top end greases.
Okay.
Because in this market, water washout is an important feature of a grease.
Of course, yeah.
But that sort of lithium calcium combination grease is also quite adhesive. Some of these greases, depending on how you make them, will be quite adhesive. So again, if you've got vibration, you've got water, anything where anything trying to remove the grease from its intended application, if you can keep it in place, then obviously it's going to do a good job for you. Now, a lot of these systems, of course, may have automatic dosing systems. Part of this series of videos was the Volvo hauler we looked at. That has a dosing system for grease to the chassis points. So it's always administering a little bit of grease all the time to keep the chassis lubricated.
Do you not use a specific type of grease though for the auto lubes?
You can, yeah. So some of the auto lubes will be using what we call a semi-fluid grease. So it's quite a thin grease, so it can be pumped.
But what's coming out here, you would think that's...
So that's not, obviously from the consistency, that's not a semi-fluid grease.
Oh, is it not?
This will be like a number 2 grease, okay?
What's a number 2?
So the higher that number, the thicker the grease becomes.
Yeah, right,
so
okay.
Your thinner greases tend to be what we call a treble O grease, okay? Then there's a double O, which is slightly thicker, then a single zero, which is slightly thicker again. But these are all semi-fluid greases, and they would tend to be used in auto lube systems. And then you go to a number 1 grease, then a number 2, and then a number 3. So that hierarchy goes from thin semi-fluid greases to thicker greases near the top. And for most general applications, a number 2 grease tends to be used. This will be a number 2 consistency grease.
Yep.
It's a black grease, as you can see, so that's got molybdenum disulfide in there because that's a pivoting operation. Okay, it's not a rolling operation; it's pivoting.
Right. Yes.
Okay, and obviously, if you've got this bucket full of a lot of soil or aggregate,
stress on it.
Yeah, that's a lot of stress pulling down on that. So well, you can see this is already squished out, if you like, using that highly technical term again. So that's already, but the moly will be remaining behind in there to give you that lubricant film that you need to protect it.
Okay.
So as I say, so semi-fluid greases, they have their place for auto lube systems, and the other greases, obviously, depending on what you're lubricating, and again, depending what the OEM specifies for that particular piece of the equipment, then you will make your grease choice. So that's getting the consistency right, whether it's a treble O grease, a number 1 grease, or number 2 grease, getting the actual thickener, because a grease is basically a combination of a thickener and a base oil or an oil, okay? And the thickener is there to deliver that oil to do its job of work. But that thickener can be made from different materials. Some are better at high temperature, some are better with water, some are very sticky and tenacious. So get your consistency right, get your grease thickener type right, and that will give you the optimum performance in that particular application.
Right, yes, yes.
But again, it's all about making sure you've got the right one for the job, and if there's any uncertainty, of course, then technical advice is at hand. So, you know, you can give our technical service.
How many different types of grease at Morris then?
We've probably got, I'd say 12 mainline greases.
12 different greases. So we're talking copper greases,
Copper
white
grease,
grease.
of course, copper grease for assembly, you know, or disassembly, to help with disassembly. Then we have the white greases, the PTFE type greases for less arduous applications, but again where there may be sliding contact. Then you have all the semi-fluid greases we talked about, the standard multi-purpose greases for wheel bearings.
That's a lot of greases. That's a lot of greases.
There's a lot of greases.
A grease for every single.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we're never.
I mean, there are some, you know, we've got specialised open gear greases as well. I mean, certainly the plant, this side of things, in the big equipment side of things, like the graders and the screens and various other things, rock crushers.
Where you've got open chains.
Yeah, and exactly, open chains, a lot of vibration, then you want something which is going to properly stick in place.
Yeah.
So we have greases which will do that.
You've got
job
stuff like
as
that,
well.
but then you don't want all the dust and grit sticking to it. So I suppose
this is it.
You want it sticky, but you don't in some
yeah,
way. So
this is a balance. Of course, this goes down to maintenance.
It's a complicated world, the world of grease.
So you might have to, maintenance intervals may be quite quick on those to remove all the contaminated grease and reapply it. But grease does form a part of this big umbrella of lubricant requirements for this particular market. So with all the correct fluids in place, all the correct greases in place, then you're going to be looking after this equipment and getting the maximum service life out of it.
Fair play, fair play.
So,
Right.
Yep, plenty going on with greases.
I'm a bit wiser. Yeah,
go.
top man, thank you.
All right. Cheers, Guy. No worries. Okay, so if you want to see any more content like this or videos with Guy, then visit the Morris Lubricants website or look at our YouTube channel.